Hello, all. My name is Phillip Johnson, and this is my initial thread post for discussion board form 4, which is our final one for 703. So, the title of my presentation is Attaining Educational Achievements with Success. This is a philosophical model analysis. Introduction. Education is an important tool for nations across the globe. It is the cornerstone of a nation's success. More specifically and especially for the United States of America. One's philosophy of education is to excel in the world of academia by developing pedagogy through which the administration, faculty, and students that one learns with daily will benefit academically by attaining one's educational achievements with success. Horace Mann, born 1796, died in 1859. He is known as the leader of the Common School movement. He is also known as the father of public education. And this right here, this is his claim to fame. He was a lawyer, a politician, and an educator. Mann was born in Franklin, Massachusetts in 1796. And this was 8 years after the U.S. Constitution went into effect. He basically felt like that the standard curriculum, which consisted of reading, math, and writing, and catechism, was basically not enough, to make the education of students well-rounded. They needed more than just, the basic reading, writing, and math. He felt like they also needed to learn history, geography, health, and music. And that last one, music, that's one of the main reasons why I chose Horace Mann as the educational thinker that I wanted to analyze. He was here during the 19th century. This was during the historical era of modernity. Okay. Now, since he was born in Franklin, Massachusetts, he was raised there, he grew up there. So, because his teachers weren't really wealthy and didn't have the resources that they needed to give them an awesome education, he took it upon himself to go to the town library to study, read, learn all he can. He self-educated himself because education was just that important to him from when he was a child all the way up until his death, throughout his whole career. He also took tutoring sessions while he was in school. Next, he attended Brown University, and he was accepted at Brown as a sophomore. He was 20 years old. He studied there for his higher educational career, and he graduated as the valedictorian. Then after he graduated from college, he decided to study law. And he studied with a lawyer and read law and self-educated himself about law. Then he went on to be elected to the Massachusetts House of Representatives, to the Massachusetts Senate, and he became the first Secretary of Education for the Board of Education in Massachusetts. This really right here, his career, is what helped shape and form his ideas, as well as other common school leaders or public education leaders helped form and shape and mold the educational landscape across the United States. Afterwards, he was elected to the United States House of Representatives. And then lastly, his final job or position that he had was being appointed the president of Antioch College in Ohio. So as you can see, he moved around quite a lot in the U.S. He was in Massachusetts. Then he moved to Rhode Island, where he attended college at Brown. Came back to Massachusetts. Then he moved to Ohio, where he was the president of Antioch College. Philosophy of education. Horace Mann was a leading endorser of public education. He wanted to ensure that education was accessible to all students or adults. He felt like that it was up to the students to apply what they learned from their education. He also believed that they should have equal opportunity, that all children should have an equal opportunity to be able to get an education and to achieve academic goals and be successful. A direct quote from Fife, 2016. What man articulated by way of vision in the 19th century, once manifested with the passage of compulsory attendance laws, still has significance in contemporary society. The vast majority of children in his time attended public schools, and that is still true today. At best, advocates of public education today typically will get a modest level of support from the general public. Theory to practice. Now, physical education became a topic of discussion with the scholars and the administrators. They felt like a program for exercise needed to be added to the curriculum or to the educational plans of the schools. European physicians, they felt that scholarly activities are detrimental to people's health. Because if you're sitting around all day, you're doing nothing but, reading a book or writing, or you're just sitting there and you're not being physically active, and that causes gastrointestinal or digestive issues, because we're sitting around all day and not standing and, allowing our body to do what it needs to do naturally. Because once upon a time we used to live an active lifestyle, but now we have become sedentary. When he became the education secretary, he ended up with an office or a desk job, right? That wasn't really too popular with him. He was not about to sit there behind a desk all day, 5 days a week, doing paperwork and whatnot. So he decided that he wanted to be active. He traveled across the state of Massachusetts as the Secretary of Education and visited schools and classrooms, and that's what kept him going, kept him active, so that he wasn't always in his office behind a desk. He was one of those ones who liked to interact with people and get them involved. I feel like that's basically how he was so able to get education moving. He was a leader at the forefront. Now, Horace Mann, he was a good friend with George Combe, who is a Scottish phrenologist. And this goes back to not being sedentary, being active, having physical education in schools. The whole concept of this slide, scholarly activities being detrimental because we're not being active. This is a direct quote from Noel, 2017. In the years in question, phrenology was a medically serious effort to connect new understandings of brain geography to moral traits in quest of self-knowledge, human understanding, and a better world. Its proponents, especially Combe, incorporated pre-existing health advice into their self-improvement program. Perspectives on diversity. Mann thought that education should be free and universal, non-sectarian, and democratic in method. Kremen, 2020. I agree with him. This is why I chose Mann, because of his philosophies and what he believed. Because of Mann, we ended up with an equal opportunity for all children across the nation. Here is a quote from Horace Mann himself. A human being is not attaining his full heights until he is educated. In conclusion, Horace Mann was a proponent of education. He loved education. He did what he could to help not only himself but to help others. He himself decided that he would take it upon himself to self-educate himself and learn all he could. On the other hand, he knows that he can't make anybody learn anything. That's why he said that it was up to the students to take it upon themselves, apply what they learned, and use it in their daily lives. Because education, this is not for nothing. There's a purpose behind it. There's a reason why we need to be educated. To keep ourselves healthy, to keep ourselves from getting sick, to learn how to do things that we haven't done before or didn't know how to do. To broaden our horizons and to do something with our lives that will help other people in the future. We are always going to be students. Even Mann was a student his whole life. As he climbed the ranks of society, became the leading person in education. That concludes my presentation. And I thank you all for taking the time to listen and watch.